Welcome, guys. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Yeah. And today we're going to be reacting to Mr. Nightmare. This one's called Three Disturbing True Easter Horror Stories. So I'm excited for that. I don't think we've done an Easter one, but yeah. I don't even think Mr. Nightmare's done an Easter one, so this is the first Easter one I've heard of. But yeah, I am so excited for this one. Yeah. On my Easter Bunny rabbits. They might be in the background. I've got my two Easter Bunny rabbits. Yeah. So I'm excited. I'm excited to do this one. But yeah. Anyway, please subscribe, turn the notification, and click the bell beside you. Anyway, let's jump right onto it, shall we? Let's jump right onto it. I'm so thirsty. Subtitles on. Aha, let's go. Oh, damn. Looked innocent until they like the dramatic music.
This happened when I was a little kid, maybe 6 or 7. My family has always been very religious, so Easter has always been a huge deal for us. Same with most of the other major religious holidays. Now that I think of it, even Sunday kind of felt like its own holiday with the way my parents treated church. It's actually kind of funny. Some of my earliest memories are church related. What I'm about to tell you was one of them. It was Easter Sunday, so all the services
Not a
were
good
much
one.
longer than usual. I don't mind though. My parents instilled the love of Christ in me very early
I
on.
love these.
After the service was Sunday school, or CCD as our church called it. I know lots of churches don't offer Sunday school after really important masses, but ours did. So after the mass, my parents took me out. The main sanctuary was upstairs where the altar and pews were, and then all the classrooms were in the basement. It was technically a basement, but the church was on a slope. You could still get in and out of the building from down there. There was this long carpeted hallway down there with maybe 7 or 8 rooms branching off on each side. At the end of the hallway were the 2 bathrooms, one for boys and one for girls. Right next to those was a heavy gray door that led outside. It was almost always locked from the inside, but I remember being told it could be used in case of an emergency. The adults always warned us to never leave from that door because it would automatically lock behind us, and we'd have no way of getting back inside the church. But anyway, back to the story. The whole downstairs had been decorated for Easter, like really decorated. The walls were covered in pastel streamers and little paper cutouts of lambs and crosses, and there were drawings of Jesus with kids taped up between the classroom doors. Some of the teachers had even worn these cheap bunny ears you get at CVS. It actually felt more festive down there than it had upstairs during Mass. All the kids were in a good mood, too. Probably because everyone knew there'd be egg hunts later in the day. Normally, I'd wait until class was over to go to the
Bless
bathroom.
me.
But because the Easter service had run way longer than usual Masses, and I couldn't hold it, I raised my hand maybe 15 feet down the hall. And it wasn't uncommon.
Something's gonna happen.
They always said if we took too long, they'd come check. But I don't remember that ever actually happening. So I slipped out quietly while the rest of the class was coloring pictures of the empty tomb and Jesus rising from it. I went into the boys' bathroom and shut the stall door behind me. It was quiet, but those bathrooms were old. All I could hear was the soft hum of the fluorescent lights and the faint sound of a teacher's voice echoing down the hallway. But as I was sitting there, I suddenly heard this weird scraping sound coming from the stall next to mine. It didn't sound like anything normal. Not like someone shifting or unlocking a door. It was the slow, uneven metal sound, like something was being dragged or scraped against the inside of the door. Not loud, but sharp. I don't remember being scared. I was mostly just confused. At first, I thought it was another kid, so I kept quiet and finished up my business. As I was washing my hands, though, I looked into the mirror and saw that stall door opening slowly. But instead of another kid stepping out, it was a grown man wearing an Easter bunny costume. I remember the way the ears flopped forward a little, and how the suit looked off. It was kind of saggy and stained in places, like it hadn't been washed ever. The fur was more of a grayish white than
Yeah.
bright white.
Oh, hell no. Best believe I'm not going back in that store. Like, I love the Easter Bunny. Easter Bunny was always my favorite, but, yeah, no. You better hop to it. Anyway, sorry, that was a bad pun. Get yucks out. Well, Rascally Rabbit will start chasing you. I would have just gone like, what's up, Doc? Probably would have been like, I wanna, I wanna come inside my van. I can give you some chocolate. I got a van out the front with lots of Easter eggs. Come on over. Come on over. Don't be shy. Don't be shy. Come on over. There's some goodies. And then all of a sudden, he gets kidnapped. Can you imagine that's how the story goes? Nope. Hell no.
Eyes on the head looked like it had been sewn back on crooked. But the thing is, I don't remember being scared when I saw him. Not then. Like I said, I was pretty young, and in my mind, this was just the Easter Bunny making a surprise visit. I actually smiled when I turned around. I think I even said something like, "Hi." He didn't say anything at first, just stood there halfway out of the stall, staring at me. His head was tilted slightly, and he didn't move. I remember feeling a little awkward, like I wasn't sure if I was supposed to say something else. Then, after a long pause, he stepped all the way out and slowly raised one of his arms, pointing towards the door like he was guiding me out. That's when he finally spoke. His voice was muffled behind the costume, but I still remember the exact words. He said, "You're the lucky chosen child. I have a gift for you, outside." I didn't even hesitate. I was excited, like genuinely thrilled at the idea that I'd been picked for some kind of special Easter surprise. I think the fact that this was happening in my church gave me a false sense of security or something. I pushed open the big gray door without thinking twice, not even remembering that it was supposed to stay locked. The Easter Bunny followed right behind, not saying anything else. He started walking across the pavement toward the far corner of the church parking lot. There was a car parked back there, mostly hidden from view by the dumpster and a few scraggly bushes. I remember thinking it was weird that he had parked so far away, that he didn't even have a basket of candy or anything.
I knew it. I knew it. He was gonna get kidnapped. What'd I tell ya? I knew it. This is why you don't trust any Easter bunnies. You don't trust any, you know, Santas. You don't trust any clowns. You don't trust any dolls. You don't trust any ice cream trucks. You don't trust any tooth fairies. Don't trust any of them. They'll start stalking you and they start kidnapping you. They'll take you not to a magical land. They'll take you to hell. Drag you to hell. You better best believe that.
At one point, he started holding my hand.
Uh,
I saw it. A second Easter bunny stepping out from a car he was leading me to. At first, I just stopped walking. My little brain did
Your little brain needs to know that you should listen to your parents and never go out.
little brain didn't know what to make of it. I remember looking back and forth between the two of them, completely confused. I hadn't seen that car earlier, and now there were two Easter bunnies. Something about it didn't feel magical anymore. It just felt wrong. To this day, I've always thought of what happened next as an act of God. One of the teachers, I think her name was Miss Sabrina, just happened to be walking around the church, maybe heading out to prep for the egg hunt or check on something outside. She looked over at the parking lot right as I was being led over to the car. I'll never forget the sound she made. I've never heard a more terrifying scream in my life. The man in the costume immediately let go of my hand and bolted for the car, and without thinking, I took off running in the opposite direction toward Miss Sabrina. Once I was safe in her arms, I turned my head just in time to catch a glimpse of the car, which was now speeding out of the parking lot. I'm not 100% positive, but I'm pretty sure I saw another kid in the back seat of that car. Miss Sabrina wasn't even looking, but I told her what I had seen, and she took me seriously. The next few hours are a
That's
little blurry.
very disturbing.
Miss Sabrina alerted the other adults right away, and police eventually made me tell them what happened. They asked about the kid I said I saw in the back seat, and I did my best to describe him, even though I had only seen him for like a split second. I wasn't even sure if my mind was playing tricks on me or not. My parents were the most upset, and for good reason. I think my mom cried for an hour straight after we went home. The police followed up with the church, but nothing ever came of it. There were no missing children in the area, so the police didn't really have anything to work on. The running theory was that whoever had been in that costume somehow had a key to the back door and just sat in the bathroom waiting for a kid to use it. And by sheer misfortune, that kid had been me. I still find the whole thing deeply unsettling. Whoever had done that must have been familiar with the church's layout. Otherwise, they wouldn't have known where to park or wait, or even how to get away with it all. But what scares me the most is that I think there really was a kid in the backseat of that car. It's hard for an Easter to come and go without me thinking about this experience.
Yeah, that one's very disturbing. I'd give that one a 10. Like, seriously, I'd give it a 10 only because, like, this is a serious thing. A kid has just been kidnapped. A child. A child has been kidnapped. Like, this is a serious thing. They should be more self aware of this because they don't know where these Easter bunnies are taking them. They don't know. Like, for all we know, he could be, like, going to slavery, or he could be sex slave, or who bloody knows? Like, could be getting killed, or I don't know why people abduct children. Like, there's like multiple reasons why they abduct it, but why? Like the whole Madeline story. Remember that whole story? Well, there's a few other stories. That was like the big one. Like that little 4-year-old girl that went missing for good, never came back. Like the parents just left her. They left her in like I think it was like a hotel, like they were staying over somewhere. They weren't even like at the house. They were staying over somewhere, but they were outside with the other kids, and they just left her. Or they had another child in there. I think there was a daughter in there, but they kidnapped the daughter, like the other one, the Madeline McCann. I think her name was. I can't remember. Ken McKay. I don't know. But yeah, this is a serious. That's very disturbing. Can you imagine an Easter bunny? Can you imagine a kid going into a van with two Easter bunnies held captive? No, that's very disturbing. Very disturbing.
I just graduated high school last year, which is when what I'm about to tell you took place.
Oh.
Easter has always been a fun time of the year for my friends and I, but not for the reason you think. We've outgrown those childish Easter egg hunts that everyone does when they're little, and I honestly cringe when my parents make me participate in one with my younger cousins. A few years ago, I can't remember exactly when, my friends and I created a fun twist on the typical egg hunt format and devised seekers don't find all the hiders within a certain time frame. The hiders also win. There are some other dumb rules, like how the seekers can't be camping where any of the eggs are hidden, and stuff like that. But that's not super relevant to the story. It was the Thursday before Easter, and school was canceled the
I
next day
love
for
I
whatever.
love how he's explaining the rules and it's like, come on, get to it, and he's like, and that's how the game goes. Anyway, this is not relevant. Nah, it's a nightmare. Oh, what the hell? What happened?
This is Tony.
Bloody hell! I messed it up. But like seriously, like Like, I love how Mr. Nightmare always explains these things. Oh, I wonder if he like. I know some of the stories aren't real, but like, I know that he gets it off Reddit. But like, I'm just curious. Like these other stories. I just love how he's just like, this is how the game goes. Anyway, sorry, enough said.
His name was Razzie, but everyone just called him
Razzie,
Raz. His family had the biggest house by far, so we'd always chill there. He lived in the middle of
Razzie.
nowhere, and his backyard bordered a decently sized wooded area.
No,
Plus, his parents were out of town until Friday night, so we'd have the place to ourselves. We were just chilling, playing video games in his basement, when Chuck suggested we play Manhunt.
no.
We were all down, so we rounded up whatever flashlights Raz had in his garage. We used a random number generator on Jake's phone to pick random teams, just to keep it fair and unpredictable. I was on a team with outside. We'd played back there a bunch of times before, so we already knew the layout. The far boundary was the fence line, and the other edges were the creek and the back slope that ran down towards Raz's neighbor's horse pasture. We set timers on our phones to give the hiders enough time to hide, and us enough time to hide our eggs. Once 10 minutes passed, he also mentioned that the sun had already gone down, but it wasn't completely dark out yet. Once the timer went off, we all split up to cover more ground. At first, I couldn't tell if I was imagining it, but then I saw it again. I
No.
instantly turned my flashlight off and froze in place. Someone was crouching behind a tree up ahead. Whoever it was must not have seen me, otherwise they'd definitely have run off. They weren't moving, like they were trying to stay perfectly still. My first guess was that it was Race. He always picked spots close to the Seekers, thinking no one would expect it. I decided to try to get the jump on him. I crouched down a bit myself and started moving slowly, trying to circle around behind him. When I got close enough, I sprang forward and lunged the second he turned around. I felt a wave of fear wash over me. It wasn't any of my friends.
No.
It was a grown man with slicked back hair and these wide open eyes, like he was on drugs. His clothes were all torn up and he smelled awful. I was so taken aback that I didn't even realize what was going on. Before I could react, he tackled me to the ground. I screamed as I hit the dirt, but before I could yell out
That's
again,
very
his hands
disturbing.
were around my throat. He was pressing down with all his weight, and in that moment, I honestly thought my life was over. I couldn't breathe, and I didn't have the strength to overpower him from that position. And then, out of nowhere, he stopped. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw a flashlight beam bouncing off the trees somewhere behind us. One of my friends must have been running towards us. The guy must have seen the light too, because he jumped off without saying a word. He straight up ran into the woods, disappearing almost immediately. I just laid there, gasping for air, still too stunned to move. A few seconds later, Chuck reached me, helped me up, and said he saw the whole thing.
That's quite disturbing. Some random guy that you just saw in the woods all of a sudden just like strangles you, like just does the whole like strangles you, pins you down. I I would be very disturbed. That is very like I I don't know what I would do in that situation. I feel like because you're just a kid playing like Easter egg hunt or Easter egg or Easter hide and seek or whatever this game is called. I forget. But yeah, like some random person. Like I'm already scared like that as an adult. Can you imagine if I was a kid and that happened to me? You could have died at the hand of some creep who is just like dinking around in the woods. God knows what he's on. The friend. I'm glad that Chuck, your friend, saw the whole thing because yeah, that's a very horrifying encounter. That's for sure.
I wanted to chase after that guy, but Chuck told me that was an awful
Yeah,
idea. So the
bad
two of us instead
bad
ran back
decision.
towards the house. Chuck called the rest of the crew and told everyone to go back to Raz's house immediately. Once we all reconvened, I told everyone what happened. After Chuck filled in the rest of the gaps, everyone started talking over each other. But then, Arthur said something that shut all of us up. He said that before the game even started, meaning before the initial 10 minutes were up, he saw two people walking through the trees near where he was hiding. He said they were moving slowly, like they were scouting or waiting for something. And he'd actually gotten pissed at the time because he thought it was two of the Seekers teaming up and breaking the rules. That's when me, Chuck, and Raz all looked at each other and immediately shook our heads. None of us had been walking together, and there was no way we could have gotten all the way to their side in such a short time frame anyway. The realization hit us all at once. If it wasn't any of us, then
All
there were
that
at least
was.
three other people out in those woods that night. One who attacked me, and two more who were moving around before the game had even started. In that moment, I realized how smart I had been for listening to Chuck and not chasing after my attacker. He might have saved me from walking headfirst into an ambush. I told everyone we needed to call the cops. I mean, I had literally been attacked. But the second I said it, Raz cut me off. He got weirdly serious and said, "No, we're not calling anyone." I asked him what in the world he was talking about.
Yeah.
He said he was technically grounded, and beyond that, he wasn't allowed to host anyone while his parents were out of town. So involving the cops would get him in serious hot water.
I I I could have died. I could have died. And you're worried about being grounded. You're worried about being in trouble and not being able to be allowed out of your room. That's more important. Having freedom and not knowing that your parents warned you not to do these things. That's more important than me almost dying from this random person who almost strangled me to death. That's what a terrible friend. Fuck you. We're not friends anymore. Like, we're done. We're done. No questions asked.
But he didn't budge. The rest of the guys were kind of stuck in the middle. No
Yeah,
one wanted
no.
to put Raz in a bad spot with his parents, but I could tell that they were all having a hard time just pretending that the whole thing didn't happen. Eventually, I caved and agreed to not call the police and try to just enjoy the rest of
No!
the night.
Always
I was
call the
seriously
police.
shaken.
He needs to learn
I ended
some
up
consequences for his actions. His parents obviously didn't want him to play this game. And he needs to take accountability and responsibility for his own his own actions. Not behavior, because he didn't really have behavior, but like he obviously wasn't allowed to do any of this. And this is a serious matter. You could have didn't see this kids. Kids don't learn. Kids don't learn back in my day, we used to be if you don't answer the door, don't answer the phone, you know? If someone calls, don't answer it. This kid's straight up oh, let's just go out and just hang out in some dodgy area. Don't tell my parents. And if you die, then, just don't tell my parents. Yeah. Idiot. Idiot child.
going to bed early that night and left Raz's house the next morning before anyone else was awake.
I hope he called the police.
This might surprise some of you, but I actually wasn't too affected by this experience.
Or
I'm
why are
very
you
much
writing it
a
on Mr.
things
Nightmare?
happen and people have to move on. So that's what I did. Anyway, about a week after everything went down, Raz told us all that he felt bad just leaving those Easter eggs out in the woods. So he had gone to collect them, even though he was scared out of his mind. We all got a good laugh out of that, but his comment made me think back to that night and contemplate my life a little. I have no idea what those men were doing in those woods that night, but I can confidently say that I won't be spending the night at Raz's place anytime soon. Anyway, I'm at college now, and I'm far, far away from Raz's backyard. But being as Easter is coming up next month, I got reminded of this story.
I thought you were a kid. Is this a teenager? I'm very confused. Maybe this was a teenager. How did they write the story? I thought this was a kid. They're saying, but It's almost Easter now, so that was last year that happened. So I'm going to assume this person's like 13 or something. I can't remember the story. I can never remember. But yeah, this is a serious thing. Like, you can't let your emotions get to you. Like, there's someone that's potentially dangerous at your friend's place. I'm glad that you're not going back to his place anytime soon, but I still get the authorities involved. God only knows what's going on in those woods, in lurking around Raz's house. What if his parents are in danger? What if he's in danger? You know? You're pretty much saving his life. Yes, he might get grounded because he should have listened to his parents. But you know what? That's just life. You need to learn to suck it up. It's very disturbing. I'd give that one also nearly a 10. Because you almost died. Anyway, you could have died if your other friend. What was the other friend's name? I can't remember what the other friend's name was. The other friend, Chuck. Chuck saved your life. Yeah. Nah. I would have been like, ow. Story free!
Every Easter, my entire extended family takes the trip out to my Uncle John's house, who lives way out in the sticks. This past year was no different. Uncle John lives in a huge house that sits on a wide open stretch of land, which is surrounded by a strip, to tell you the truth. I've never really related much to that side of my family. They're all super
I like
outdoorsy,
nature,
into
but
hunting,
anyway.
fishing, stuff like that. And most of them have lived in the same place their whole lives. Anytime
Same
I'm
as my
around them,
parents.
I
But
feel
they
kind of
love
like the odd one
nature.
out.
And they love
On top of
animals.
that, most of my
Well, my
cousins
mum
are
does
way older
anyway.
than me, like already married with kids or working on some kind of farm. The only one even remotely close to my age is Kevin. He's a couple years older than me, and actually pretty chill. We always end up sticking together.
This guy seems like the most autistic kid ever. The way he's describing himself, he's like, I'm introverted. I don't care about nature. I like to keep to myself. I rather do nothing in life. I got one good friend. Thank God he's got a friend. He just seems like the most introverted, autistic kid ever. Probably plays video games. I don't know. I don't know. I'm being judgmental. Sorry. Just saying.
They're
I'm
doing these family
autistic.
trips just by default. He knows I don't really fit in with the rest of them, so
Mm.
he's usually good about keeping me company without making it weird. Anyway, we made the drive to Uncle
Mm.
John's late Friday night. I'm an only
He's the
child,
him.
so it was just my parents and I in the car. I was exhausted from the drive, so I went to bed almost immediately. The next morning, Kevin and I spent a couple hours in Uncle John's basement playing pool table. Neither of us was any good, but it was better than sitting around upstairs. The house was already packed with relatives by then. You
Yeah.
know what the usual holiday chaos is like. We mostly stayed downstairs, low key avoiding it all. There wasn't a TV down there, so Kevin played some music off his phone. The two of us talked about some dumb family drama, not even worth mentioning here. While we played,
Yeah.
Kevin kept going on about the woods behind Uncle John's house,
Uncle John.
and that hardly anyone ever went far enough to see the cool stuff out there. He talked about how magical it felt and how beautiful the isolation
Mm.
was. I mostly just nodded along. Nature talk
Yeah.
wasn't really my thing, but he clearly loved it. I'm not sure how, but later that day, Kevin convinced me to go on a nature walk with him. Like I said, I'm not a nature person by any means, but I was quite literally dying of boredom, which is probably why I agreed to tag along. We obviously told Uncle
Me and
John where
him
we were
wouldn't get
going.
along very well because I love nature. So I would be like, fuck whoever's story this is. Cause, but yeah, good on the friend. I would have been like, go out, get some fresh air, look at some trees. I'm sick of kids nowadays. They're always on their damn phones like, then no one's riding a bike like I used to. We used to ride bikes back in my day. Probably back in your day, depending on who's ever's watching my videos. Yeah, we had some video games, and we had some board games, and we had we had certain other things back in my day. But we used to ride scooters and bikes, and we used to go out and walk in the woods. We used to go to the parks. We used to go on the slippery dip and the slides and the swings. Used to have a grand old time. I love looking at the birds. The little birds up in the trees and the little koalas, depending where you guys are from. You guys are probably from America, so you probably see bears. We don't have bears in Australia. But yeah, just like little nature. I love nature. Like nature's a part of us. This guy in this story is irritating me. I don't like nature. It's not the worst thing in the world. Come on now. You sound like you're a bit of a hypocrite. Just being this person in the story is being annoying a bit. I don't like nature. I'm glad that he did go with his friend, but it sounds like he's like, I'm bored. This is boring. Uh, Gotta be good. Nature's a part of us. It's part of who we are. Enjoy the fresh air. Smell the fresh grass and listen to the birds chirping.
He's a really nice guy and always lets us younger people do what we want. A mentality I wish
Oh,
my own
it's young
parents shared.
people, of course.
Kevin took the lead once we got outside, cutting across the backyard and into the tree line like he'd done it 100 times before, which, knowing him, he probably had. The woods were thick, but not totally wild. There was a kind of natural path that Kevin was following. It wasn't late in the day, so I wasn't super worried about the sun setting. But the deeper we went, the more I started to wonder how we were going to find our way back. After about 20 minutes of walking, I asked Kevin if he was sure he knew where we were, and he just laughed. He told me he knew these woods like the back of his hand, and that he'd been exploring them since he was a kid. We'd been walking for maybe another 20 minutes when we both stopped at the same time. From somewhere up ahead, we heard this loud thunk, like something heavy slamming into wood. It didn't sound like an animal or someone stepping on a branch. It was reoccurring, like a pause, and another hit, and another pause, and another hit. It sounded like a
I'm
hammer.
hating that sound what Mr. Nightmare's making. I'm making the wrong sound, but that's that sound, like the. Anyway.
Or mallet being driven against a tree. That's the best way I can describe it. Kevin looked at me, and I could tell he was trying to figure it out too. That sound didn't sound too close, but it was loud enough to be clear. He told me it wasn't out of the realm of possibility that a hunter was wandering around in there, but even so, he definitely looked a little startled. Eventually, the sound stopped. I asked if he wanted to turn back, but he shook his head. I could tell he was curious now, and I'll admit I was kind of too. So we kept walking the direction we thought the sound had come from, both on high alert. We'd only been walking for a few more minutes when Kevin suddenly stopped and held his arm out in front of me. I froze, thinking maybe he'd seen someone in front of us, but then he pointed up into the trees. At first, I didn't understand what I was seeing, but then it hit me. There were three upside down crosses nailed into three adjacent trees, way higher up than anyone could have reached without a ladder.
That's
Easily
scary.
15, maybe 20 feet off the ground. Before we could even turn to leave, I saw movement out of the corner of my eye. I whipped my head around, and to my horror, there was a person standing there. He was dressed like a lumberjack, with a thick beard and
Oh,
a very
come on
dark
now.
stare.
Oh, hell no. Hell no. Shut up, Pad.
Fell away is scientific.
Hell no. A lumberjack? A lumberjack. God knows. Hell no. Nope. I'm gonna put this on. I'm not cold or anything. You guys probably see my belly. Oh, oh hell no. Nope. 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 Not happening. Not today. I ain't seen no lumberjack.
Kevin stepped in front of me, partially shielding me from the guy's view. He stared at me specifically and said, "You shouldn't be here." Kevin immediately apologized to the guy and told him we were just leaving, which is actually what we did. That guy didn't move as we left. He just stared us down as we walked back the way we had come. I could feel my hands shaking. We walked back the whole way in silence, and I've never experienced a more tense moment in my life. The two of us kept turning around, trying to make sure we weren't being followed, but there was no way to tell for sure. When we finally made it back to the house, we told Uncle John first thing. Like I said, he's a friendly guy and he knows all his neighbors, so I got a sick feeling in my stomach when he said no one he knew matched our description of the guy in the woods. He asked us a bunch of times if we had been followed, and we told him no. There wasn't much else for any of us to do.
What about that
So
sound
we
that you
floated
heard
the idea
before?
of arming up and sweeping the woods.
I'm
But
just
Uncle
saying, what about that sound that you heard before? Didn't you hear that sound? Remember? That from a distance? Just saying.
whole encounter messed with my head way more than I let on. I ended up going to bed pretty early that night, just to get my
Don't
mind off
blame
of
you.
it. But because of that, I woke up way
Probably why
earlier,
you don't like nature.
way earlier. I rolled
But
over,
you hated nature before this even encountered. Crazy.
checked my phone, and saw that it was just after 5 a.m. The sun had just barely started poking over the horizon, but it was still mostly dark out. I tried to go back to sleep, but I couldn't. So I just decided to get an early start to my day. Uncle John has a study on the third floor of his house, so I decided to go up there and see if there were any interesting books to read. Uncle John's study has this big old window that overlooks the entire backyard. As I walked past it, something caught my eye. There was a very faint, flickering glow coming from the edge of the woods. It looked like the pulsing light of a small fire, not a flashlight or anything that bright. I stood there for a good 30 seconds just staring at it, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. Curiosity got the better of me, and I needed to know what I was looking at. So I went downstairs and stepped out onto the back deck. When I realized what I was looking at, I had to literally fight back a scream. There were at least three figures standing just past the edge of the woods, each holding a small torch. They weren't walking or moving around. They were just standing there, facing the house, facing me. I ran straight to Uncle John's room and woke him up, telling him what I saw. Without any questions, he grabbed his rifle, threw on a pair of pants, and told me to stay inside. He marched out onto the back deck and scanned the yard while I watched from the doorway. By that time, though, those people had retreated back into the woods.
Yeah.
Without hesitation, he aimed his rifle up into the air and fired it 3 times. That woke up the whole house, and the next 20 minutes or so was complete chaos. I'll just tell you that I can't think of a worse way to spend an Easter morning. The whole holiday was kind of ruined after that, and everyone was on edge for the entire day.
Don't blame you.
Eventually, it came time for my parents and I to leave, and I can't say I was upset about it. Strange. Still, though, I would hate to be living in that house, knowing there are psychos lurking somewhere nearby. I'll send an update should Uncle John tell us anything of
You
note.
won't. There's never an update. Not with Mr. Nightmare. But anyway, one disappointing thing about Mr. Nightmare. Anyway, hell nah. That lumberjack bit got me. The bones in my skin was shaking. I literally had to put on I don't know why, because the other two stories were probably scarier. That one was about 9.5, but 9. The other two stories, though, can't really say about that. They were much more disturbing. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah! That was my reaction to 3 disturbing true Easter horror stories by none other than Mr. Nightmare himself. Yeah! They were very disturbing. That last one was disturbing with the guys with the flashlights. I think the other two were more disturbing though. Especially the first story. I think the first one was scariest. No, the second one was very scary with the guy getting almost strangled to death. That was very disturbing. I yeah, I had chills down my spine like with that second story. And that friend was ass. That what was his name? Raz? Yeah, he was ass. Like he was like Raz ass. That's what I say. Raz ass. That's what I'll be. Raz the ass. Literally. Like, oh yeah, don't call my family. I don't want to get in trouble. It's like, oh yeah, yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that. Since I almost died. Yeah, I'll do that for you. Hell no. And the first story, you probably did see that child. It probably was a child that got kidnapped. I'm just saying, like, people are scary. I'm telling you, people are scary. People will go out of their lengths, their ways, to try and kidnap a child. Like, kidnapping is like the top 10 biggest crimes. Maybe top 5 biggest crimes. Up there with murder, sexual assault, like kidnapping. What? I'm just saying, you can't, like, people are dangerous. You can't trust no Easter bunny. I'm just saying, you can trust my Easter bunnies that I had. My little Easter bunnies. I didn't bring them with me. My little Easter bunny. Yeah. But yeah. But yeah, they were very disturbing stories. Anyway, yeah. Happy Easter to you all, everyone. I hope you stay safe. I don't think I've ever reacted to a Mr. Nightmare one with Easter, but I'm glad that we got to watch this one. But yeah, that was my reaction. Got to see my beautiful niece as well today. So yeah, I got to see a lot of Easter things. Yeah. Don't trust no Easter bunny. That'll be the title of this video. The description of this video. Yeah. Anyway, please subscribe, turn on notifications, and click the bell beside you. I love you guys so much. Thanks for watching. Bye!